even though they're hot, and then the next year they regret it.
Not.
What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the update of Akeem Williams, the man who just qualified for the Olympia next year by winning the last Olympia qualifier of 2024, the Big Man Week in Spain. So that really puts him at a great advantage for this next season, because Akeem has never qualified for the biggest show of the year so early in the season. So I have been mentioning this in a number of my videos, that Akeem doesn't get enough credit on that unbelievable development of his arms. He has one of the biggest arms in the Pro League right now, and thanks to Michael Krizo for putting this out there, because even Michael Krizo, who has arguably the biggest arms in the Men's Open, along with Nick Walker, he said that Akeem also falls in that same category of having the best arms in the modern era.
Vieš čo, dneska mi akorát vybehlo video Akeema Williamsa, tak to sú strašné granáty. Asi on.
So would Akeem have placed any better at the Olympia this year if he did not have that injury that severely affected his lower back, and that too up to a point that his lower back kinda melted? I have got to say maybe he could have, because as huge as Akeem is, he still has a very great midsection, very tiny waistline, and even after years and years of growth, putting on muscle, his symmetry hasn't been affected at all. So will Akeem do more shows other than the Olympia next year? Well, we will have to wait and see, because at this point, he just needs a break, as he did a total of 6 shows in one season, starting from this year's Arnold, Ohio. So basically, Akeem has been dieting for an entire year. So where do you guys rank Akeem in terms of having the best arms in the modern era? Next up, we have an update from Andrew Jacked, who was spotted in Bahrain today. So we are now almost 12 weeks out, a little less than 12 weeks, out of the second biggest show of the year, the Arnold Classic 2025, and Andrew plans to be the last man standing. And make no mistake, if there is anyone who can really challenge the reigning Miss Olympia, Samson, for this upcoming Arnold Classic title, it is none other than Andrew Jacked. And if you guys remember, when the hype was being built for this past Miss Olympia, there were so many people in the industry. In fact, a legend, the 8 times Miss Olympia, Arnold Hany said that he wants to see Samson and Andrew as the future of men's open bodybuilding. Now Samson delivered, but Andrew, for the 3rd time in his career, he showed up kinda off for Miss Olympia stage. So this upcoming Arnold, that is gonna be like a redemption story for Andrew. Now we do not even know whether Andrew at his very best can actually beat Samson Dauda, because Samson is bigger and more thicker and a more dense bodybuilder in a number of shots. But we did not even get to see that Samson versus Andrew comparison at the Olympia this year. Now I 100% believe that we are gonna get to see that in March, and possibly a much better comparison, because Andrew, we all know, shows up much better in any of the other shows other than the Olympia. And the fact that he's gonna be so fresh at this upcoming Arnold, I think he is gonna be super dangerous. And for Samson Dauda too. So the Texas 2024 look, that is the one to beat for Andrew, as the judges said that if Andrew showed up exactly like that, especially his finals look, maybe just a bit more drier, he is gonna ruin everyone's chances in the men's open class. And that includes Samson Dauda as well. And he can 100% win the Olympia. So next up, we have an update from the reigning Miss Olympia, Samson Dauda. Now that was a big risk taken by Samson as a champion to throw his name in this upcoming Arnold list. And maybe if it wasn't for that $500,000 on the line, Samson would have had second thoughts about doing this show. But this is literally the prime time of his career, and on paper, this is just another Arnold title just waiting for him. And if he shows up just like he did at the Olympia this year, he's gonna win this show. But I think he is gonna be better, because he has been so focused on his dieting and training post Olympia this year. And nobody is weighing 325 pounds with such a good body composition as Samson Dauda is showcasing at the moment. And now that the judges have seen Samson Dauda in the greatest condition of his entire career at this past Miss Olympia, he will always be compared to this past Miss Olympia look of his, because that is exactly what happened with the Persian Wolf, Hadi Choopan, as well. Just like Hadi Choopan got compared to his Arnold Classic Ohio look. Now, not even a single judge said that Samson had the best conditioning on the stage, but overall he had the best package. His conditioning this time with that kind of size, that was just so overwhelming that the judges just could not ignore that. So since 2022, Samson has done every single Arnold, as well as every single Miss Olympia, which is unique in its own manner, and he has been able to make the maximum improvements from one show to the next. So do not be surprised if Samson shows up looking even better than his Olympia look, judging by the way he has been training and how he has been super focused.
Even though they're hot, and then the next year they regret it.
Not.
They were like, I should have done it last year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hey, but what
Trying
about
to get him to do the Arnold over here.
No, listen.
Next up, we have the latest physique update from Martin-Fitzwater. So he calls himself fat, and there is just no fat that any of us can see on his physique. So what a phenomenal season Martin had this year. And those guys at the Menace podcast, they almost got him convinced to do this upcoming Arnold. But it is gonna be just too early for Martin to start another full prep because he just got done with a 20 weeks diet for the Olympia for the Prague. So can Martin be another Phil Heath in the making in terms of the legacy that he's gonna create in bodybuilding? I mean, the man is just 27 years old and he just placed top 4 at the Olympia. So he has a very pleasing shape. And what weak points does he really have? So his arms were the biggest missing link in his physique up until last year. But he really brought them up this year, especially after this year's New York Pro. So he has some of the best quads in the business. And most importantly, he has the right people in his corner who are giving him great advice about not trying to be 250 pounds on the stage next year and really ruin his entire physique. So Martin is looking at a very realistic goal about putting on just a few pounds of solid muscle on his physique next year. And with him doing FIBO as well as Pittsburgh Pro, there is only so much bigger he can get. So Phil won his first ever Miss Olympia at the age of 31. So it is very realistic for one to think that Martin-Fitzwater can achieve that same in another 3 to 4 years, maybe sooner than that. Man, Seth Fazi is really serious about this comeback, and he wants to make this a very impactful one. So these are his most recent pictures with his old-time trainer and coach Hany Seth, where Hany got him through a brutal training session. So Hany Seth, as we all know, is now retired from elite coaching, which in other words mean he isn't gonna prep Derek and Hadi and of course Sebum, because there is just so much pressure for everything to be absolutely perfect. But who knows, he might change his mind for Seth Fazi. So he is definitely gonna give Seth Fazi some constructive criticism. So Seth is trying to make this comeback happen after more than a decade of retirement. The man is currently 40 years old. So no doubt he looks really great in all of his updates that he has been putting out there. But you know, things are different when you get compared, especially in a good lineup. So the great thing about Seth is that his quads are still full blown because that was his trademark back in the day when he was in his prime. But the biggest question is whether Seth is gonna make this comeback in the men's open class because he looks super lean at this point and he is still 10 pounds above that 212 class. Or is he gonna suck down to do the 212? So hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video and smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.